They dropped a camera 3 miles into the crushing abyss, expecting a graveyard of twisted scrap, but what they found was a ghost that still looks ready for war. Resting upside down in the freezing darkness of the Pacific floor lies the USS Nevada BB-36. She isn't just a shipwreck. She's a 3-mile-deep time capsule of humanity's most violent era. After surviving the hellfire of Pearl Harbor and being blasted by 2 separate nuclear bombs during Operation Crossroads, experts figured she'd be scattered across the seabed like radioactive confetti. But here she is, intact, defiant, with the white number 36 still screaming off her stern after 77 years underwater. Right next to her, an atomic-age tank sitting upright as if it just rolled off the deck. The most chilling part, the very radiation meant to vaporize her, actually turned her into the most perfectly preserved battlefield on Earth, shielded from scavengers by her own deadly history. Today, we're diving into a discovery that proves the U.S. Navy's unsinkable legend is still standing guard in the deep. Buckle in, because the Nevada still has one last story to tell. To understand why the USS Nevada is sitting in defiance under 3 miles of salt water today, you have to go back to a morning where the world literally tore itself apart. December 7th, 1941. While the rest of Battleship Row was being turned into a floating graveyard, the Nevada was doing the impossible. She was getting ready to fight. Picture the chaos. The USS Arizona had just vanished in a localized sun of fire and steel. The Oklahoma was turtle shelling, trapping hundreds. The West Virginia was settling into the mud. In the middle of this smoke-choked nightmare, a 29,000-ton mountain of steel began to breathe. Because of a lucky twist of fate, Nevada had her boilers warmed up for a routine power swap. At 8:40 a.m., while every other battleship sat as a stationary target, the Nevada did what no one expected. She cut her lines and started to move. As she chugged past the burning wreckage of her sister ships, something incredible happened. Sailors on the shore and on smaller vessels began to cheer. Through the oily black smoke, they saw the stars and stripes fluttering from her stern, moving toward the open sea. She was the only battleship to make a run for it. She was the symbol of a navy that refused to stay down. But the Japanese pilots saw her too. They realized that if they could sink the Nevada in the middle of the narrow entrance channel, they wouldn't just kill a ship, they would cork the bottle. They would trap the entire Pacific Fleet inside Pearl Harbor, leaving them as sitting ducks for a second wave. Suddenly, the Nevada wasn't just escaping. She was the most important target in the world. Val dive bombers swarmed her like hornets. In a matter of minutes, she was struck by at least 6 heavy bombs and a torpedo that tore a gaping wound in her side. Fires roared through her decks. The heat was so intense it melted the soles of the gunners' shoes, yet they never stopped firing. At the final moment, realizing his ship was becoming a death trap that could block the harbor, her commanding officer made a split-second heroic call. He didn't let her sink. He deliberately ran the Nevada aground at Hospital Point. She stood there battered and burning, but upright. She had saved the harbor. She had saved the fleet. And that morning, the legend of the ship that wouldn't die was born. But as we saw from the 2020 discovery, the Navy wasn't done with her. They were about to give her a second life. With a chilling twist, they outfitted her with the salvaged guns of the sunken Arizona. The Nevada was going back to war, literally carrying the weapons of her dead sisters, to exact a vengeance that would take her all the way to the shores of Normandy. The Navy didn't just repair the Nevada. They turned her into a floating fortress of retribution. By the time she arrived at the coast of France for D-Day, she was a terrifying sight. Carrying those salvage guns from the Arizona, she wasn't just firing shells, she was delivering justice for her fallen sisters. For 11 straight days during the Normandy invasion, her crew hammered German batteries at Utah Beach with such pinpoint precision that Nazi commanders reportedly thought they were being hit by precision-guided missiles. She became the only ship in history to be present at both the day the war began in Hawaii and the day the end began in Europe. But the Pacific called her back for one final bloody chapter. From the black sands of Iwo Jima to the kamikaze-infested waters of Okinawa, the Nevada took every hit the Axis could throw at her, including a suicide plane that crashed directly into her deck. She refused to go down, but by 1946 the war was over, and the Nevada's most terrifying battle was just beginning. The U.S. Navy had a haunting question: could a battleship survive the weapon that ended the war? To find out, they decided to sacrifice the unsinkable Legend. They painted her a garish neon orange so the bombardiers could see her from miles up, and placed her at Ground Zero for Operation Crossroads in the Bikini Atoll. On July 1st, an atomic bomb named Gilda, the same type that leveled Nagasaki, was dropped directly over her. A mushroom cloud erupted, vaporizing the air and boiling the sea. The shock wave was enough to crush steel like tinfoil. When the smoke cleared, the fleet held its breath, expecting to see a vacant patch of ocean. Instead, through the radioactive haze, there she was, battered, scorched, and glowing with lethal energy, but still floating. Frustrated, they tried again. This time, they detonated a nuke underwater. A column of 2 million tons of radioactive water shot into the sky, slamming down on the Nevada with the weight of a collapsing mountain. Any other ship would have snapped in half. But when the waves calmed, the orange ghost was still there, bobbing in the water like a middle finger to the nuclear age. She was too radioactive to touch, too tough to sink naturally, and far too dangerous to bring home. She had survived the greatest fire man had ever created. It eventually took a final brutal 5-day bombardment of conventional shells and torpedoes in 1948 to finally force her beneath the waves. But as we now know from the 2020 discovery, even the abyss couldn't break her spirit. When the Nevada finally slipped beneath the waves in 1948, she carried a lethal secret to her watery grave. For over 7 decades, she remained hidden in the abyssal darkness, 15,400 feet, down a place where the pressure is enough to crush a modern submarine like a soda can. Most experts assumed that between the nuclear heat, the final bombardment, and the 3-mile plummet to the sea floor, she would be nothing more than a field of unidentifiable debris. But in 2020, when the search team's ROV lights first cut through the silt, they didn't find a wreck. They found a museum. As the cameras panned across the massive hull, the team gasped. There, standing out against the dark steel, was the number 36, painted on her stern and still as crisp as the day she was commissioned. In the deep ocean, nature usually claims ships quickly with rusticles and metal-eating bacteria devouring the steel. But the Nevada was different. The very radiation that made her a pariah in 1948 had created a biological dead zone around her. She was too toxic for the microbes to touch. The atomic fire had essentially sterilized the ship, freezing her in time and turning her into the most perfectly preserved battlefield on the planet. But the most surreal discovery was sitting right next to the hull, resting upright on the seafloor as if parked by a ghost crew, was an M26 Pershing tank. This 46-ton behemoth had been lashed to the Nevada's deck during the atomic tests to see how armor would hold up against a nuclear blast. It had survived 2 atomic explosions as the final naval shelling and a 3-mile fall through the water column, only to land perfectly on its treads in the mud. Seeing a World War II tank sitting 3 miles deep in the Pacific is a sight that defies logic, a monument to the sheer violence of the era. As the ROV moved closer, the Atomic Museum revealed its true horrors. You can see sections of the Nevada's thick armor plating peeled back, like the petals of a flower scorched by the multi-million-degree heat of the Gilda bomb. Steel beams are twisted into abstract sculptures of agony, and the debris field is littered with anti-aircraft guns and radar equipment that look like they were blown off just yesterday. This isn't just a shipwreck. It is a laboratory of the impossible. It's the only place on Earth where we can see the long-term, frozen-in-time effects of nuclear weapons on naval engineering. The Nevada isn't just resting. She's still teaching us exactly what happens when the world's most powerful weapons meet the world's toughest ship. But as the ROV cameras pushed deeper into the debris field, the mystery took a turn from the scientific to the surreal. While the radiation had initially sterilized the hull, keeping the metal-eating bacteria at bay, something even stranger was happening. In the 7 decades since she settled into the abyss, the USS Nevada has become an accidental cradle for a bizarre, alien-like ecosystem. Deep-sea anemones and translucent predators now cling to the radioactive armor, thriving in a place where life shouldn't exist. It's a Frankenstein reef, a haunting fusion of 20th century destruction and 21st century biology. Scientists are only now beginning to realize that the Nevada isn't just a tomb. She's a unique laboratory where life has adapted to the scars of the atomic age in ways we don't yet understand. Yet, as incredible as this discovery is, it raises a chilling question. Why did it take 72 years for us to see her again? The U.S. Navy's records were remarkably accurate, placing her exactly 65 nautical miles southwest of Pearl Harbor. They knew where they left her, but for over 7 decades, there was a deafening silence. No expeditions, no follow-ups, no commemorative dives. It was as if the Navy wanted the world to forget about the ship they couldn't sink. Some believe it was the lingering fear of radiation. Others suggest the Navy was embarrassed by the brutal 5-day execution it took to finally put their own hero down. There's also the matter of the debris. In an ocean where powerful currents and underwater landslides shift everything, the Nevada hasn't moved an inch. She's sitting precisely where she was struck by that final torpedo in 1948, like a sentinel refusing to leave her post. The Discovery team found that despite the violence of her sinking, the ship's character remains unchanged. She isn't scattered across the floor like the Titanic. She is a solid, singular mountain of steel. The Navy might have been finished with the Nevada, but the Nevada wasn't finished with us. By staying exactly where she was dropped, she forced us to eventually come back and face the ghost of what we created. She held her breath for 77 years, waiting for the technology to catch up to her story, guarding secrets about nuclear survival that are only now being whispered through the ROV's speakers. The real treasure, found 15,400 feet down, isn't the steel, the guns, or even that ghostly M26 tank. It is the undeniable proof that some things are built with something that can't be measured in blueprints or armor thickness, a raw, stubborn will to survive. From the smoke of Pearl Harbor to the radioactive fire of the Bikini Atoll, and finally to the crushing pressure of the abyss, the USS Nevada never stopped fighting. She is a 29,000-ton reminder that even when the entire world is trying to sink you, you can still choose to stand your ground. Today she rests in the total silence of the deep Pacific, no longer a target but a monument. She is a time capsule of an era where we tested the limits of destruction only to find that the spirit of a ship and her crew could survive the impossible. Her number 36 still shines in the dark, a white beacon for anyone who thinks the past is gone and forgotten. History isn't just in books. It's waiting for us in the shadows of the deep, guarding the secrets of who we are and what we've endured. If you believe that legends like the Nevada deserve to be remembered, and if you're ready to dive deeper into the greatest mysteries of our world's oceans, make sure to hit that subscribe button. By joining our community, you're helping us keep these sunken stories alive and ensuring that the courage of ships like the Nevada is never lost to the tides of time. The ocean still has plenty of secrets left, and we're just getting started. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next discovery.